Hello, people of Earth. I am back with you, one human unit, bringing you some Blender knowledge. So last time we talked about kind of, what everything is, the basics of like scripting, how, we're writing out these little instructions for things that Blender already knows how to do, but we didn't really get into too much of the nitty-gritty. This is where we're going to start to get into the actual nitty-gritty of how to get it done. So we're back here in the scripting tab, and we'll just start out in the top left here. So we have the 3D view going on right here. So this is, the same thing that you see as soon as you start up Blender. And this one, I'll leave it as the 3D view if I'm working on a script that is supposed to do something in the 3D view. Otherwise, I'm probably going to be changing this one. Someone who may not, be that familiar with Blender may not know this. This is how you change to different editor types. So if you're, say, working on materials, you're working on shaders, you can change that up there, and then you still have access to all your scripting tools here. So this I like to use anyway as my little portable viewing tool for whatever I happen to be working on. For the most part here, we'll just leave it as the 3D view because that's kind of the simplest way to get going with scripts. So this is going to be essentially our doing area. How we worked with it last time, we added an object. Let's add a different object this time. We'll add a UV sphere. And then once we've done that in the 3D view, down here at the bottom, this is called the info view. We can drop the little header down there. You can also hide it. How do we hide it? Let's right click and say, don't show header. And then if you ever get rid of it, there's that little arrow there. So anyway, we're going to get rid of that. But this is the info view, and this will show us a list of every command that we've done up here. We can copy and paste it from there into info view or into wherever, into the text view. So again, this is going to be kind of the place where we do stuff, and this down here is the window where it shows us what that stuff looks like as code. A lot of the time you can just copy and paste it directly from here to there. Not always, and we'll go over some of those instances where you have to work around that a little bit later. But yeah, generally this is where you do stuff. This is where you see what that stuff looks like as code. And then in between those two areas, we have this, and this is called the console. So this has another, if you're not a coder, this has another one of those like intimidating kind of looks. It's a whole bunch of text on a plain screen, and you're going, okay, what do I have to do with this? So this is like, if this is, where you do stuff, and this is where you see what it looks like, this is where you kind of investigate what else you can do and kind of test out simple stuff. So, let's go and let's take a look. So Python interactive console, interactive means we can use it. Python, it's Python. Next down here, we've got built-in modules. So we're not really going to go into detail about any of these. Suffice it to say, they are importing Bippy for us. So remember I said all of those scripts start with that line, import Bippy. We don't need to import anything because they imported it. And you know what else? They imported a whole bunch of other stuff too. And we are going to go ahead and just totally ignore that for now.
That's not important right now.
Because it's going to be, I think, in the next video where we start talking about accessing, some of these types of things in here and when you might want to do that. So going on, convenience imports from math utils. So maybe you want to do some math that's more complex than just plus minus. They're importing some utilities. Again, we're just going to ignore that. That's not important to us right now. Convenience variables. Let's explain what this is. So in Python, you can essentially kind of rename stuff. So if you have something that has, really long name like we had before, like bippy.ops.mesh.this, you could just say mesh is equal to bippy.ops.mesh. So anytime I write mesh, it means this bigger, longer thing, but I don't have to write the whole thing. Well, they've done that for you here. Convenience variables, C equals bippy.context. So we don't have to write bpy.context. And let's just for a quick example, and I'll explain what this is in a second, bippy.context.object, it's a sphere. So let's see what we get by typing in just c.object. It's the same thing because in this instance, C, capital letter C, is equal to bippy.context. So what's bippy.context? What's bippy.data? Why are they important? That, again, is going to be the next video. This one is just going to be kind of getting used to this and kind of seeing how these things work. So this is our inspector. So this can tell us anything that we need to know about either the object that we have selected, anything in the scene, or anything in Blender. So if you kind of have a question of like, okay, can Blender do this? Like, can I access this? How do I do it? Generally, it's going to start by doing bippy.something. And a lot of the times, as you can see by the convenience variables, it's going to be either something in context or something in data. And just to briefly, because I don't want to tease it and make it all like mysterious, context is what's currently happening, what's currently going on. So my mouse is currently in the console. I currently selected some text. And up here, my mouse is in the 3D view, and I currently have an object selected. So it's going to tell you what is currently happening, or what you're kind of currently doing, what the current location is. Data is more like a storehouse of everything about the Blender scene. So maybe I don't have that object selected, but I still want to know about it. Or maybe I have the sphere selected, but I want to do something with the camera. And, I don't want to select it. I just want to, know something about it. Then you can access that through data. So that's just to kind of make that a little less mysterious. But like I said, it'll be more the next video where we go into what those really mean and how and why you want to use them and when. Okay, so yeah, the console view lets you investigate all this stuff. And let's see, bippy.ops. Oh yeah, there's one more thing that we want to do. Or one more thing that we want to talk about in this view, and that is the autocomplete function. Because I'm saying like, oh, you can investigate this, and you're going like, yeah, but I don't know what any of this stuff means, Like you're looking at this and you're going, yeah, bippy, but bippy dot, you put in a bunch of other stuff, ops mesh, like how do you know that? Where did you get all that stuff from? So this, like I said, it's the inspector, it helps you figure stuff out. So you autocomplete after you type in bippy, and it'll tell you everything that's available to you. So I hit tab there on my keyboard. I'm not sure if that's a thing that I set up or if it's just a built-in shortcut, but this is what I'm hitting here, essentially, autocomplete, this function. So console, autocomplete if tab isn't working for you. But yeah, tab is what I'm hitting to get these things to pop up. So I'll hit tab, and it'll put a period there, meaning, okay, you've got bippy, and now we'll go inside of bippy and look at what we've got available. So I hit tab again, and it gives me this whole list here of all of these different options. And then I can start typing any of these. So you can see ops is there, and we saw that once before. So I'm going to type in ops, and I'm not typing anything else. I'm going to hit tab, and it's going to put a period in there because it's going to say, okay, well, you want to be in Blender Python, you want to be in operators, and now we're inside of that, and let's see what else we have. So I'm going to hit tab again to autocomplete, and whoa, there are so many options in here. So blah, 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 tons of stuff, overwhelming. I'm going to use my hidden secret knowledge to say, okay, I knew that object was in there. So I'm going to type in object, or I'm just going to type in O, and then I'll see autocomplete again. And okay, it's now giving me just a list of all the things that start with O. So if you know what letter you're starting with, if you know you're looking for, yeah, we'll just stick with this. I don't want to make it any more complicated yet. If you know the first letter of the thing you're looking for, you can really shorten that list a lot. But if you're not sure what you're looking for, you can just leave it as that, that period, and then you see every option that's available to you. So I'm going to say object, and then dot, and then whoa, you got so much stuff you can do. And what I want to do is I just want to delete it. So I'm not even going to look through there to see if there's a delete option. I'm just going to type D and then C if it'll shorten that list for me and give me a delete. So data instance, there, delete. So we go delete, I'm going to type DE and then autocomplete again. It's going to autocomplete for me. And okay, so now we've got an almost complete function. If I hit this, I don't think it'll do anything. Yeah, it didn't do anything because it's waiting for me to finish that bracket. So you can see there, And I'll just finish it off there, and boom. Then the object is deleted. So we got most of a function happening there, but to tell it that it's a function, we have to add these 2 brackets at the end. So basically everything up to here is like, okay, we're in this folder, we're in this folder, we're in this, folder or this file, whatever it is. But until Python sees these 2 brackets at the end, it's not going to know that this is a function. This is a thing that I have to do. So Blender up until this point is like, okay, I'm going to look over here. Okay, I'm going to look in here. Okay, I'm going to look in here. And then we say, okay, I'm going to look in here. And if we don't have those brackets, it doesn't know. It's like, okay, yeah, that's a thing I can do. But if we want to say actually do that thing, we put the 2 brackets on the end. It knows it's a function, and we can say enter, and it will delete that object. So that's a little bit of a way to get around, kind of figure out what things are doing, but you might be seeing a couple of limitations here. For instance, you kind of had to know a little bit about how this worked to be able to, guess what you needed to type in. And yeah, you can type in bippy dot and hit autocomplete and it'll give you the whole list, but like I said, it's pretty overwhelming when you first see that if you're not really sure where you're looking. And the other little catch there is all of these scripts are just on one line. So if we want to do anything more complicated, if we want to, write a whole bunch of stuff, it's going to either have to be on one big long line, or we just can't do it in this view. And that is where this text editor comes in. And we can bring this in here, and so it doesn't have the convenience imports that this does, where it's already imported Bippy. It says Bippy is, context is C or whatever, but we can recreate that ourselves if we wanted to. Get that open. Just crank up the font size. So we go C equals Bippy dot context. And we can say print C dot object. Okay, so now let's run this little script, and then after we run it, I will show you a couple more things and tell you exactly what we're doing here. So I'm gonna hit run. So this, I said print this, and you're going like, okay, so do we go to a printer? Do we go where did we print this to? I didn't see any error messages. Nothing came up that said it didn't work, but also nothing happened. It's like it's not in the console here like we did before when we could type, dot object and it would say, oh, it's that sphere. Oh, shoot, we don't even have an object. Maybe I should run that again. Here, let's put a monkey in there. Okay, let's run that again, just in case. Okay, so long story short, where did this print to? So we go up here to Window, and we can get Toggle System Console. So click that, and it opened up on my other monitor, but I'll bring it in here. So this is the System Console. So this spits out any messages, any error messages, any print messages, anything that you want to say to yourself in your code. So this isn't going to show up to your users if someone's using the script. Unless they're going into the console, they're not going to see any of this in Blender. You have to open up this window to see it. But this is a great troubleshooting tool for, if you have a script and one half of it's working, the second half isn't, you can start putting in these print things in, before the thing starts, say print it's starting. When we get to the halfway point, say print we got to the halfway point. When we get to the 3/4 point, print 3/4. And if it never prints 3/4 into your console, then you know exactly the point at which your script stopped working. So print is a nice little way to, troubleshoot scripts, to figure out where you did something wrong. And another way to help with that is error messages, but we're going to get into that in that next video when we start talking about context and data. So anyway, just long story short, I wrote a quick script. And if you're used to using things in the console, you can set it up exactly the same way so that you can type exactly the same commands. You also don't have to. You can type, the text editor is kind of freestyle. You can type in your own style, and you can type these massive long scripts, as long as you want, as long as you need. You don't have to try and confine everything to one line. And if you need to print something, if you need to get a little info back, then you just go up to the window and you toggle the system console. Say that 5 times fast. Toggle the system console. Okay, and now that we're kind of up in this menu area, that brings us to the last kind of place that we're going to look at for this video. So there's 2 great spots we can go. One of them is Python API reference. So I'm going to click on that. So I mentioned to you that the console can be used to explore Blender and figure out everything that you can do and all that stuff. Here is maybe an even better spot if you have never done, any of this before. And like I said, this series was supposed to be for people who have never really experienced coding and kind of think, oh, that's kind of neat. I'd like to try, but I don't know how. So yeah, we got the quick start. We've got the API overview, how to use the reference docs. Good. So this is really the best, or at least the first few are the best place to start. So you can click on here, and this will give you a ton of information about, how Blender expects you to work with it again. It's a little more technical, but you can also just go, okay, well, what are all the different data types? What are all the different things in Blender? Well, you can just click on types, and again, it's a massive list, but you've got a list of every different thing. So, an image, a 3D object, a node, a connection between 2 nodes, anything that you want to manipulate, this will tell you kind of what its name is and how to get to it. And if you're not really sure and you just want to go, okay, well, it's a shader or something, then you type it in the search. Search will find it for you up here. And you can either go to, these pages are more like sort of a parent page. It'll be, something that'll have multiple different things in it. And then these will be more like a child object. Here it says Python function. So like a single function that you can call. Whereas these ones would probably have like multiple functions. It's a module. It'll have multiple functions within it. So that's a couple of different ways for you to explore that Blender Python interface, see what you have access to, see what you can get. And then once you start writing it, and this is kind of where the API falls down a bit, because they don't really have a ton of examples of how to do things. So you'll see, a list of types, you'll see context, you'll see data, and then you try and type that into your script, and it's kind of like, well, that doesn't do anything, or it just gives me an error message. How do I actually, work with this stuff? And I find if you are getting, a particular error, like, oh, I just want to, delete this object, I just want to do this, one of the best places you can go is blender.stackexchange.com, and you can just search for, whatever you want. So if you need help with a UI panel, you type in UI panel. You need help with an add-on, you can type in add-on, and, creating the simplest add-on. So you can even type in stuff like help, need help with this stuff, like I'm lost. What else could you type in? I don't get it. So, this place for me really lowers the barrier in terms of, super, for example, noob, basic stuff. So if you're really confused, you can just type in something like that, like, I don't know what I'm doing, and you'll get a list of everybody else who says, I don't know what I'm doing, and maybe somebody in there has the same issue as you, and maybe somebody in there says, oh, don't think of it, like a sandwich, think of it like an airplane, and you go, oh, that's the thing I needed to hear. What? For whatever reason. But, that's the thing that makes it click for you. And then once you get on to more advanced projects, like how to install Python packages. Then you can see install pip from within Blender. So there's, people who have had your issue before, and you can see some with the green. That means they have an answer that someone has approved. Others have answers that no one has approved. Others have no answers at all. But probably in here somewhere you can find some little piece of information, some little clue that will help you out, and that will fill in one of those little gaps that, yes, the API shows you this stuff, but it doesn't show you exactly how it's supposed to be used. Or maybe you just have, in your particular Blender file, in your particular case, the way they want you to use it isn't the way you need to use yours. So you find somebody else here who has the exact same use case, and boom, blammo, there you go. You're set. So speaking of that, I have used this many, many times for a whole bunch of different add-ons, and I want to give a couple of special shout-outs because I can't count the number of times I had an issue. Nobody on Google had a solution. There's a forum called Blender Artists that has a lot of other great Python tips, and nobody on there had it. And then Blender Stack Exchange. There's the answer. There's the little code snippet, custom written out. You can, copy and paste and, customize it to your needs. And guess who wrote it? Well, it was batFINGER.
He's my sweet cheese, my good time boy.
So, massive props. You can see all the badges they've earned over the years, but this person has helped me out so much.
I love them.
So yeah, big props, massive shout out to batFINGER, and then another one here to CodeManX. So there was a period of time where I was just growing to expect that, if I found an answer that worked, it would be written by batFINGER. And then I started noticing, oh, there's actually, this one wasn't written by batFINGER. Oh, this one wasn't written by batFINGER. And who wrote all those other ones? Well, a lot of them were written by CodeManX. So, and you can see here, ba.org is my home. So that's, I believe, blenderartists.org. Yeah, so two users that have just given so much knowledge back to the community. Big shout out to them. And again, blender.stackexchange.com is the site where all of this knowledge exchange is happening. Once you kind of get your feet wet and you know a few things, then you can turn it around and you can help some of those people with some of those same questions that you had when you first got started. Okay, and to wrap it up then, this is a GitHub repo that I created. And we're going to talk about more, what GitHub is, how to use it, and what repos are. For now, you can just click on the link and it'll take you to this page, and it has a list of just super common things to do in Blender, for the most part, not all of them, but super common things that I found were just a little more challenging than I expected, or, things that I found I was like, okay, what, I can't remember exactly what, this dot what is supposed to do this. So yeah, this is just a list. You can come in, you can copy and paste any of this stuff, and it'll just show you, how to delete an object. Like I forgot, bippy.ops.object.delete. There you go. You go back to the top. And we'll be getting into how these all work, but just as a quick reference, you're like, how exactly do I do that one thing? Like, how do I select a single point? This will show you how, because again, it's a little more, you would think it would just be something like this, like select that, that exact point that I want. It's true, but all of this stuff beforehand is kind of like, oh yeah, okay, there's a couple of things that you need to know before you really get going. So that will wrap it up for this time. And in the next video, we're going to be talking more about, bippy.context, bippy.data, and we'll start writing some more scripts and seeing some of those common error messages that you're going to get when you first start writing. Cause, oh boy, there's one or two that I saw so many times. So I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye.